Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder, to the first video made in 2020, but not the first one to be released. And this is Enduring Confrontation, this time on the New Guinea scenario or map, whatever. And you can see this is in stark contrast to the usual English Channel or Saipan scenario on a single coastline. And with this comes a various different playstyle approval, and we can go through the tactics one by one. But first of all, again, Happy New Year to all of you that haven't read the comment under my first video of 2020 to be released, and I hope you have arrived well in the new year. And so we go back to the grinding of the Operation Frost, and so we can talk quite a bit of the things that we have here listed. I've made various different points and I have enough footage, and as you can see, I'm playing here with the British. Now also, this video is intended for a little bit of a feedback for Gaijin, in the hopes that this counts towards the War Thunder 2019 feedback review, to which you will find the link in the video description down below. I already made a video a past couple of days ago, but I think that I've scrapped it because the news have overtaken already the validity of the video, as it happens so often. So the question number one, does this count toward the Operation Frost, this Enduring Confrontation? The answer is yes, especially if you hit the torpedo, especially the damage and winning the match. Although the match can take as long as 2 to even 3 hours, you can see that you will not win the 10 matches. Sadly, I have not managed to get it awarded for the first prize or the first place and winning, which is also one of the fulfillable tasks. So with that in mind, let's talk through the rest. I think that on a single coastline you can see that the northern spawns are a bit more exposed than the southern spawns, which are in cover behind a landmark. However, yeah, they will pretty much come out broadside anyways, and the combat distances are also shorter usually than on the English Channel and Saipan scenario. So with all on one coast side and coming out of a certain bottleneck, if you will, this is just a prime of the torpedo wall of skill tactic that, especially from the Japanese players, is embraced quite a bit, as you could see previously with this wall of torpedoes coming. But in any other way, it is also just a race for the spawn points. As you can see here, my first death only brought in 373, so I have to start in the hideout once more to finally get the HMS Belfast, which is, for all intents and purposes, the best British cruiser so far. And yeah, what is it worth it? What is Naval Forces bringing here with the Enduring Confrontation? Well, it feels like Gaijin is putting more effort into developing Enduring Confrontation, and I like that, but they never should turn back or tune down the effort putting into the random queue, as not everybody is willing to spend 2 hours. And also for grinding, this event, it looks impressive, the final result, compared to a single random battle, but you have to take into account the time difference, right? If it takes for you 1.5 to 2 hours to gain a result that you can achieve in 3 to 4 matches lasting significantly shorter combined, you can see that grinding wise this is not as effective, especially if you use Silverline and or RP boosters, since they only last the first 30 minutes. So this is one thing to take into account. Other than this, I think that the race towards the spawn points is in one way a good thing and in one way a bad thing. Obviously, if there is somebody out there with his German destroyer and then finally puts himself into an Admiral Grauspee, Admiral Hipper or Prinz Eugen, then he's just the king of the battlefield and he can just blab everything from long range. And this then kills all the diversity of the gunboats, the torpedo boats, and in particular there is no real place for patrol boats. So this game mode is definitely focusing on destroyers and especially cruisers, because there is significantly less island cover. The combat ranges are in excess of 10 kilometers, and the next thing is, well, it takes so long with a PT boat to go anywhere, and then you get shot up even by destroyers with even 1 or 2 shells because of hull break. So I think to implement here some river estuaries with shorter combat distances along such a coastline is more than doable, and it also prevents the patrol boats from getting hunted down by destroyers, since you can do it in such a way that the river estuary is just too shallow for destroyers but deep enough for the PT boats. And also you can give them separate sub-objectives, right? So at the end of the video you will see the rewards, and again they look very impressive. Again, enduring confrontation should never replace random battles, and random battles again are better for grinding. And yeah, I think that now let's talk about the match in question. Look, this is the HMS Haida, or to be a bit more precise, because it's not HMS actually, it is more like the HMCS Haida, since it is a Canadian ship, and it's of the tribal class. And I have a problem in random battles, especially versus American destroyers, because the 4.7-inch cannons, despite having more of them and still having decent damage, they just don't punch as hard as other nations', well, 5-inch guns, or 5-inch, 5.1-inch guns, whatever. And you feel this in the damage output. But if this is fleet versus destroyers versus fleet of other destroyers, then you just can hide, if you will, in the vast amount of destroyers that there are. Again, then the Japanese just dump out the walls of skills and just rinse and repeat, which is also a little bit boring. So 1 or 2 islands somewhere, or, you know, very shallow islands, a reef probably, or I don't know, let's say a cap circle in the middle, or multiple cap circles where there are other objectives like capsizing aircraft carriers, something along the lines like this, to give a bit more life to this game mode would be really cool. But yeah, it is the damage output of those 4.7-inch guns, or 120mm guns. They have 3 kilograms of TNT equivalent filler, which is quite a lot, but the damage output, especially versus crew, especially versus the modules, is not as good as with other nations' destroyers and their 5-inch guns, or 5.1-inch guns. And for example, if you look at the Z-20 Carl Galster, in its HE shell, it has a mere 2 kilograms of TNT filler, yet they feel hitting harder significantly. And so you will never survive a trade. The next thing is, as you can see, of other nations' ships, you have to knock out an entire section of the ship completely to make it black, and then you have to obviously kill significant segments of the enemy ship. Whereas with the Haida, you die significantly earlier, so you have overall less hit points, you have overall less DPM, less striking power, and the accuracy of the guns is sometimes still pretty iffy. And they're also not that good at long range compared to other nations' destroyers' guns. The next thing is also the anti-aircraft firepower is not all that great, in contrast to especially the American destroyers, maybe even some of the Russian destroyers. With all those things taken into account, it has to be said that with this ship you only want to go for the cruisers, right? And with the cruisers you then have to make the difference. You have to farm the destroyers, and this is really what brings in the silver lines, what brings in the RP, and what leads to your team moving forwards even more, and hopefully getting an upper hand. And so I tried really hard to make as many spawn points as quickly as possible to then jump into the cruiser. So I have already talked about how this will develop into a long-range engagement, and there are quite a lot of German cruisers already there, some pocket battleships, and so the HMS Hawkins, I tried to blab the destroyers from a bit longer range, try to get a bit different footage, and I just spawned, and there you can see 16 assists, 17 kills, 1 aircraft shot down, and I got destroyed 6 times so far, albeit 2 times I bailed out to jump into another ship. And yeah, I think that this was the result after nearly 1.5 hours. 1 hour 23 minutes and a bit played. So keep that in mind. And now I try to destroy here this German light cruiser at, what is it, not even 8,000 meters with my semi-armor piercing shells from the 7.5-inch guns of the HMS Hawkins. And remember, you only have 6 guns per broadside, and the reload is also not the shortest one. I'm doing a fair bit of damage, knocking out 2 guns with 1 salvo, the front turret and one of the rear turrets. So this gives me now a little bit of time to just fill this guy with a lot of lead. And I see from long range there are shells coming in. I try to finish this guy as he is advancing closer and closer to our lines. And if I don't take him down, I don't think that a lot of the guys in destroyers can take on this ship reliably. And I come to a standstill. I try my best here to get as many shots in there as possible. You also could see how much damage I already did in terms of pure naval damage done. He has repaired the turrets, but he's down to 34% crew, and he is also flooding. So those shells do damage. But again, this is a ship, I don't know if it is the Köln or the Nürnberg. This is an equal or lower battle rating cruiser. And again, this is pretty much a very comfortable range for this ship. And we're doing still damage, but it's not enough. And somebody shot torpedoes from the second line, which is something that people really need to train to look around before they launch their torpedoes. So we got him down to 21%. It's probably better to switch to high explosive to just blab the crew. I cannot really count on taking out the crew. And there we get a nice kill on this guy. And then, oh boy, what is that? That's Admiral Hipper or Prinz Eugen. I don't know. I think it might be the Prinz Eugen with the skin. Let's see what we can do. Now I obviously need to move, and again we are now engaging at roughly 11 kilometers, and I have a severe disadvantage. Disadvantage in accuracy, DPM, armor, and you know, again, this is a cruiser at the same battle rating. But I figured out, hey, maybe I can get something done. But yeah, this is now going back to the original question, if this is better for grinding or not. Well, you're not escaping the meta, are you? So you're still facing the same opponents, but I think you can rack up more kills while doing this. So it depends. It really depends on which nation you're playing and at which battle rating. Enduring confrontation might be a thing. But all good things come to an end, and yeah, the Admiral Hipper just blabbed me from 10 kilometers distance. Not very nice, is it? Seconds later I spawned in the Belfast, and this is when the match finally ended. And yeah, let's have a look at the post-battle results, and let's see what we got for 1.5 hours of playing. And we secured comfortably first place. We got a whopping 252,000 civilians and 68,000 vehicle research points, because I mostly used the premium ships, which is really, really nice. But again, if you cut it down to you know, RP and civilian gained per 10 minutes, then this is pretty poor again. So yeah, and this first place did not count towards the first event, despite 16 kill assists, 18 kills and 1 plane shot down. I think it's promising. There is so much to talk about, but some of the issues have stayed the way that they are. It's still a race towards getting the first cruiser, getting then the upper hand, and then blasting away in open waters at inferior ships. This is good if you are in a very capable ship, if you have a nice lineup, but I also think it's quite nice that there is a frontline situation for aircraft, so that's a parallel battle. But this requires a lot of players and not a lot of bots, although bots still can be implemented to drive forward some convoys or some destroyer flotilla attacks. So this is a very promising game mode. Again, I hope that Gaijin implements it further, but Gaijin must not stop developing also random battles, because they desperately need an overhaul as well. That's it for me today. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. I obviously couldn't feature every single situation, and I couldn't really try out everything because the battles take so goddamn long, which is nice for the 1st of January 2020 as this video is made. And we'll see each other as usual after you have subscribed, after you have given this video a like, on the battlefields, in the skies, and on the waves of War Thunder.